episode of Bodybuilding and Business. Welcome back, Gregory.
Hey, man. Welcome back, Patricio.
For those of you that don't know us after 30 episodes.
Yeah, this is 31.
This is 31?
No, this is 32.
We released 30?
Yeah. No, no.
Yeah, this is 31.
30
This is 31.
is going out today.
Yeah. If you
This is 31.
just listening to us, I am Pat. He is Greg. And welcome to Bodybuilding and Business, because that's who we are.
Yep. That's us.
Can't believe we've done 30, dude. That's a lot of weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
Most people
30 weeks.
Most people can't even count that high.
It's more than half a year.
It is more than half a year.
You know what today is? Do you know what today is?
The actual date?
No.
Oh. Is it an anniversary or something?
Summer solstice, dude.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
I thought we were still in the vernal equinox.
No, Mercury is still in retrograde, though.
No kidding.
I guess. That's what those people say. What are you looking at, dude?
Just making sure we're good to go.
I'm good to go.
No. The pod track, not you.
Oh, okay. Well, fix the pod track then.
Pod track P4 looks like it is good to go.
Phalanges running?
A little, yeah.
Okay.
Flux capacitors on high voltage. Kind of a fun one today.
Yep.
Something we haven't talked about it's very prominent in bodybuilding, but we haven't really touched on it too much yet.
Let's touch, dude.
We can't do a whole lot because this is like a super scientific thing.
Okay.
But we can skim the surface.
I mean, we could break it down in layman's terms.
Yeah, but we can skim the surface. But like, this is a very broad topic. The topic is, say it.
Well, unfortunately, did you hear that?
That was you.
No, my cup slid, but I felt like the volume went out in my headphones. Did it do it to you?
No.
Anyways, push my cord in a little bit. See if it's all the way in.
This one?
Yeah. So back to the topic. All right.
Yeah,
ADD kicked in.
Say it and you.
Basically, what we're trying to say is the gym cannot fix your face. So if you're ugly, genetically, you're just ugly, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Genetics, guys. The topic is genetics today. Thanks, Greg, for all that. I just teed you up for the layup, and you decided to throw it off the bottom of the rim.
But truthfully, if your parents are ugly and they made a baby, guess what? Genetically, you're fucked.
It's true.
So I still fucking sunk that layup.
We're going to talk about genetics in bodybuilding, though.
Oh, there's a lot of ugly bodybuilders.
Not what your parents gave you in the face department. Genetics and bodybuilding. We're going to bring this up today because good friend brought up a very good point to us yesterday. Which, again, we are very lucky that we do get so many random questions throughout the week that even when we don't ask you guys for questions,
we got them.
We get them. People always have something to ask.
Locked and loaded.
I'll refrain from names or anything like that.
Yeah.
So no one's feelings get hurt. But basically the conversation was about, hey, how come this guy who looks fitter than me
is weaker than me?
And I'll use lack of better terms, but basically the more the story he told, the more he was asking us questions. It was like, hey, I ran circles around this guy.
Yeah.
But he looked like, if you just looked at the two of us, you would think that's the more fitter guy. What's up with that? Like, how is that even possible? Like, how he couldn't wrap his head around how somebody who looked physically fitter couldn't be
more fit.
Actually physically more fit. Which is, again, to us, a very common thing.
Yep.
One of the first examples I gave him was like mover muscles, right? Talking about when I worked for a logistics company, one of my 9,000 careers, some of the strongest dudes I ever met
were a 60-year-old, 130-pound, 5'4" man.
Yes.
Who could just throw a dresser over his shoulder and just...
Who, if you brought him into a gym, wouldn't be able to bench press 50-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
But he used to pick up upright pianos and walk with them, right? Because strength is relative, right? And strength does not translate into the gym as it does out of the gym.
No.
There are certain aspects of strength that does translate out of the gym, right? The stronger you get in the gym, you'll relatively be stronger outside of it. But every type of movement you can practice a movement and get better at it, right? Somebody can work on their grip strength moving furniture all day long and have insane grip strength and stamina and then walk into a gym and not be able to squat. That doesn't mean that the person who can squat can also do the moving. It's in relation to what is actually going on in your life and what you're actually performing. So So when we were asked this question, it brought up the topic between the two of us of like, well, also genetics, right? And I think the first word I said when he said it was hyper responder.
Yeah.
Right. I said, well, dude, guess what? He's probably just a hyper responder. To those that don't understand what that means, and I know that's highly associated with steroids in your body, your body's ability to break down and utilize steroids better than others. But to start, I'll not even touch on the
Drugs.
anabolic aspect. I'm just going to say people can be hyper responders to just stimulus in general, right?
Correct.
You could be a hyper responder to this, to basically, yeah, to the old elk, to anything, right? There are some people that wake up and go throughout their whole day and don't have any caffeine, right? And their body
They're
doesn't.
just fueled.
Yeah.
Not even from a healthy diet. They're just
Yeah. There are some people that have one small cup of coffee for a day and they're just
they're fired up,
ready to go. We know people who drink 5 cups.
Fireball.
Dun, dun, dun. Is that Pitbull?
Pitbull.
Nice. Mr. 305 making his first appearance on the show, 30 episodes in.
Unfortunately.
If we had an
I wish I
episode-
never even did that.
If we had
I
an
hate that, man.
episode 30.5, it would have been the Mr. 305.
Maybe we could call this 30.5 then.
We'll call this one Mr. Worldwide.
Worldwide. Wide.
So yeah, there's different responses to different stimulus, right? So like there are people, guys, who will go into a gym one day, and this is something that everyone just kind of has to understand and unfortunately accept that there are going to be people who walk into the gym one day, they're going to pick up the same weight as you and grow bigger, faster, stronger than you ever will. That doesn't mean you can't continue to progress and maybe move past them one day, but their response to that stimulus and your response to that stimulus are never going to be the same. Greg and I can perform the exact same workout at the exact same weight, at the exact same reps, same intensity, whatever you want to say. Our bodies are going to respond to it differently.
Totally differently.
How your body responds is a genetic predisposition, right? That's already decided before you ever thought to step foot in a gym.
And
Go ahead.
there's also this, though. And I think we briefly touched this yesterday as well, though. Genetics play a huge role in it.
Yeah.
But there's also the chance that, I almost said names, the person who asked the question has always been an athlete.
Right.
Has always had endurance.
Right.
Well, created endurance, right? And has lifted weights for over 10 years at this point, okay? And even though they don't look the part, it's also because he didn't follow a diet as strict, right? This guy might have not had as much muscular endurance or strength because the fact that because of his genetics, he's never had to work hard to look good.
Right.
So he's never had to train to get strong to have the muscle he wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's big guys who aren't strong. And I'm talking not your mover or drywall guy or construction worker. I'm talking people who are in the gym every single day lifting. And they might just be lifting enough just to maintain. And they might naturally be bigger, broad-shouldered guys, right?
Right.
I have people that I played football with growing up who they were big dudes. There are people who you probably wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to go fuck with this guy, right? But they weren't that strong. They had that football strength, right? And they can, right off the hike, they could knock someone over on the line immediately just without even trying, right?
Yeah.
Brute force, whatever. But in the gym, they didn't care. This was high school. You know what I mean? Like they didn't take it serious. They fucked around, whatever, but they didn't lift heavy. I was lifting heavier than them. And I was 150 pounds at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was stronger in the weight room, but
not
on the field,
Right.
genetically, I had the speed, right? I can tackle hard, but like if I'm going up against a 230 pound lineman, my little 150 pound ass is getting ran over, you know?
Yes, I agree with what you're saying, but you're also now just talking about literally just physical weights, which is still a difference.
Correct.
So
No,
like-
but my point of that though was this kid, because of his genetics,
Right.
probably never had to work hard to build that strength.
Right.
Now, if he took his gifted genetics, right?
And worked
he
as hard.
actually worked as hard as the client who asked us this was, as long as he has, he'd probably be way bigger and way stronger than he is.
Absolutely.
But that was my point is, The guys who I played football with could have probably been 10 times better.
Absolutely.
If they took that and actually practiced and got better at all these movements,
And that's part of the pill side of this. The negative side to this genetics discussion is that people do have to realize at some point, you're going to come across this somewhere. Someone is going to get more than you, make it further than you, achieve however you want to say it, without having to try as hard.
Yeah.
And that's life. That's just genetics.
For sure.
It doesn't mean you can't make it in bodybuilding. It doesn't mean you can't build an incredible physique that you're proud of one day. It doesn't mean you're going to be limited to something. But just know there's always going to be someone, right? And this is why this ties into a lot of different things that you and I talk about and preach every day, right? There's a reason we don't another reason we don't preach macro-based diets. And again, I hate to make everything about diets and macros,
But it is all about diet.
Part of the reason we don't preach that is we preach certain foods that everyone can digest really well. That doesn't mean there aren't people, you, for example, who could eat pizza every day of the week and still make progress, not have gastrointestinal distress and all of these things. Whereas if I were to try to eat pizza every day, right? Because I know you can, just because I know you can doesn't mean I should be able to too, right? And it would be silly to be like, well, we do the same things. We do the same workouts, same amount of cardio. Why can you eat that and I can't?
Because our body is different.
We're different. It's not going to work the same way. You see
That's also a blessing and a curse, though. Another one of our friends, also one of my clients, always says to me, yeah, well, you got great genetics. Your parents have good genetics. This.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can get away, and I don't anymore with eating pizza every day, but I've done it. Okay? I don't anymore, but at the same time, my fight to that is, yeah, but imagine if I didn't. Okay, I can do it and not put on a bunch of fat adipose tissue, right? I could still pretty much maintain where I'm at, maybe get a little softer of a look, okay? But I'm never getting fat from it. My strength stays the same. I don't have intestinal, distress of any sort, right? But if I was feeding my body the same amount of calories from clean shit, I'd probably be 10 times better.
Yeah. What's your point here?
My point is, people always say, like this person who I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
We had a lot of diet talks. This one. Okay. Okay.
I'm there.
That person. Okay. The point is,
no, but you made it seem like there was a negative side to yours, and I was just making a joke. Okay. What's your point here? You
knew my point.
You just said that you could eat pizza all day, or if you tried harder, you could be even better than everybody. Wow, does sound really tough.
But my point of that, I know that now you're making a joke, but
yes.
In case they didn't get your joke, correct. Okay. My point of that is, just because someone does have better genetics doesn't mean that they can't keep continuously getting better.
Absolutely.
There's people who dwell on having bad genetics and use that as an excuse not to get better and kind of give up on themselves. And then there's those who have good genetics and they take advantage of it, and they kind of just go through the motions with things in life, right? And they don't progress to the rate that they should, although they are slowly getting better, right? Then there's those who have good genetics and put the fucking work in, and that's game over.
Well, and guys, those are the people who are your IFBB pros.
Yeah.
I hate to be the one to say this, and there might be some who go pro initially, but they're not good pros.
They're not top 10 Olympian pros.
Good IFBB pros are the people that are gifted genetics and they're willing to work harder than everybody else.
Yep.
They just are, right? To use a perfect example, when you see the average off-season bodybuilder, right? Yes, they're obviously off-season, right? But I remember the first time seeing, when Instagram started to get big, social media, you start to see guys in their off-season a little bit more, right? Because if you open a magazine back when we first got into the industry, you're not opening a magazine and seeing anybody in an off-season.
No.
You're seeing contest prep photos and stage shots.
Yep. Gakic.
Now, yeah, good job.
People are like, what?
What did he just say? That's a different language. That's an old school supplement. You guys should look it up.
I'm all stuck.
Now you see guys in their off season. You see, and again, I'm not glorifying this look, but you got like your Nick Walkers that post pictures with their shirts off all year round, and you can look at him and be like, dang, dude, Nick Walker has a six pack. Even though it's like bigger in the off season,
yeah.
Nick Walker's got a six pack all year round, and he's like 260 pounds, but he's still got a six pack.
Yep.
And does his stomach maybe go the opposite way, right?
Sure.
And not out wide and fat, but like it does it grow in his off season because he's gaining fat?
Yeah, his
Yes.
waistline gets wider, sure, but
does.
he's not gaining his big belly.
No, and it's like that for somebody like myself who is not an IFBB pro, that's something I can look at. And again, I know I'm not a 260-pound mass monster.
You're not?
But nope.
Damn.
I had to think about it. That's something that I look at, and obviously I'm envious of it. I understand that it's fine, but I'm envious of it because it's like, man, when I'm in my off season, I definitely don't walk around with a ripped six pack like that, right?
And that's the difference. That's genetically,
yes, those guys aren't going to put that fat on their midsection.
they don't need to.
Well, just genetically, their body won't do it.
Correct. But I'm saying they can respond so well without having to push so much past their actual need to add the tissue that they're trying to go for.
Right.
Then you have someone who is a hard grower, and even with clean calories, taking in 4,000 or 5,000, they're barely tipping the scale, and they have to start pushing high calories, and they're putting on some bad weight, and that's the difference.
And we all know that person, right? We all know the guy who can do those things, and they still walk around with the six pack, and they do those things. We knew the guy
Eat pizza every day. Those fucking
eat pizza
guys,
every
you know
day.
what I mean? God damn.
We talked about this, like Greg said. You knew the guy in high school. You're gonna know the guy in the gym in your 20s.
Yeah.
You're still gonna know the guy in your 30s, right? The difference is the ones that end up becoming really good IFBB pros are the ones that have those good genetics, and they try harder than anybody else.
Yep.
They're working just as hard as the guys with bad genetics with good genetics.
Yeah.
And that's why they get to that elite level. I also think, while on the topic
Of genetics?
genetics and going back to the hyper responder thing,
Oh, yeah. I like those.
I think hyper responders, because again, everything we're talking about is stimulus based. I think like a stimulus, sometimes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is a little hypothesis
I would love to.
of mine. Somebody who didn't grow up as an athlete might genetically be in a better place to build muscle afterwards because their body has not been open to this new stimulus before. So, because I know this can go two ways, right? You could look at this and say, and this is just an argument just for funsies. You could look at it and say the guys that are good bodybuilders tended to be athletes when they were growing up, right? So they built this base from playing sports, and then they built on that once they finished playing sports. I'm going to go back to the example of the person we were first asked this question about. What if the reason this person is able to not need to lift as heavy, to not have to work as hard in the gym, can get circles run around him by an athlete, right, is because he didn't grow up playing sports. So his body didn't ever get used to the stimulus of
I get what you're saying.
breaking down the muscle, recovering, getting better. So when he turned 21 and he got a gym membership and started doing some bicep curls, his body was like, whoa, what is this?
The fuck did we get ice cream?
Let's grow a little bit. Like let's make this happen. And I wonder, again, because like we said, most pros that we know, or most guys that we know that are decent bodybuilders, have
An athletic
backgrounds. Yeah. It's not as common to see someone who never played a sport and just walked into a gym later on in life and all of a sudden looks a certain way. But I do wonder, because it's like stuff with this, right? Like if you start drinking coffee at an early age, like the two of us had, right?
It stunts your growth.
That's why we're short. Eventually, that same amount, you build a tolerance to it, right? And now it's not enough for you or I to have just a coffee and we're good to go for the day. It's not how it works.
This guy just ripped a double shot before walking in here.
Yeah. Way to tell them all my secrets.
Fuck, I'm sorry.
Guys, I'm tired, so leave me alone.
Double shot of vodka.
Yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't espresso, it was vodka.
Sorry.
But
they don't know the secret now.
Good. They have no idea what we're talking about. So, but what I'm saying is I wonder if that really is, again, the person who doesn't ever consume caffeine has a little bit of caffeine and they're probably wired because they're so open to this new stimulus. The person who isn't an athlete growing up might be able to make some pretty good initial newbie gain progress because
I'm happy you said that.
There was no original stimulus. So the first time they pick up a weight, it's like,
and that's what I was going to say is you're not wrong, right? Whether you're talking stimulant sensitive as far as caffeine goes. You're talking about the newbie lifter. Okay. I'm not going to agree to the extent that he's better off.
No, sorry.
But what I'm saying is,
he's better off.
What I'm saying is, I agree that he's going to have a faster response. Let's say I never worked out before, right? And you've worked out or been an athlete your whole life. And then all of a sudden I get a gym membership and I start working out with you.
Right.
Yeah. The first couple years, I'm going to be, no matter genetics or not, I'm probably going to be maybe not getting bigger than you or stronger than you, but if we're tracking progression, I'm most likely going to be making faster progress in all aspects than you because it's so new to my body, right? So that person that wasn't an athlete, for sure, that argument, that's valid, right?
Yeah.
He probably didn't do anything his whole life and at 21 started lifting and now all of a sudden he does a bicep curl and is like, holy shit, what is that, right?
Yeah.
100%. But that's temporary in most cases.
Sure, absolutely.
That's a shock to the body. It's, oh my God, I've never done this. When somebody else who's played sports their whole life or lifted weights their whole life, they're going to have to do more to achieve more.
Yeah.
Just like caffeine. Yeah. If I never had one of these, I never had one of these, but you know what I mean? An energy drink, right?
Yep.
And you drink them every day. You might just be drinking it just to keep your eyes open, right? I might drink it and not be able to sleep tonight because I'm wired, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, if I do that for a year,
sure,
it's going to have less effect.
Absolutely.
Same thing with this, Granted, that person also might not know because he's never done anything, or she, that maybe they are blessed genetically. Maybe they were never athletic, they're never lifted because they naturally just stayed in good shape. And all of a sudden, now at 20, 21, 25, whatever it is, they start lifting and they're seeing the progress and fall in love with it. They might be a Phil Heath who didn't lift weights until after college.
Yep, after
and like,
playing basketball.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm good at this.
I'm good at this and my body responds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables, guys.
And that's why when I said we won't get too into detail because there are so many variables.
Yeah, what position your parents were in when they conceived you. I mean, the science. El Nino.
El Nino. There are so many variables, and I think the biggest point I want to get across in this episode is just talking about how you kind of just have to accept what your genetics are. And
these are the cards you were dealt.
I don't mean accept it as in they said I have bad genetics, so I shouldn't even try. Not
it means try harder.
Right. It just means try
Do
harder.
more.
Work a little bit harder for it. We're literally in the business of making people become the best versions of themselves.
Yep.
That's what we do every day.
Yeah, hence the name bodybuilding and business.
That's our business.
Yeah.
So we have clients that might not even be competitive bodybuilders, but every day they come to us and we both know what our clients have. The listeners might not, but we know the
clients might not.
The clients might not either. We know the hurdles that they have. We're seeing them firsthand. Okay, this person isn't a hyper responder. This person does have a overactive this, underactive that. They don't respond well to this stimulus. We see that every day, right? It's our job to make sure that they can continue to make progress based on what their body will allow them to do.
Correct.
Doesn't mean we believe that somebody can't make progress because of their genetics. We just know what it'll take for somebody. I have a client who you know very well. I
would like to think most of yours, yeah.
This specific one you know very well. Invited to their wedding.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'll be there.
No, you're not.
I think so. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Genetically pretty gifted, right? When we diet.
300 grams of rice. You know what I mean?
know, that's what I mean. When we diet, should I tell that story? It's kind of funny.
Get your point, and then we could use that as an example.
We know is genetically gifted, right? And when it comes to getting in her best shape, it doesn't take much. It's like, hey, you don't get cheat meals for a month and you have to do 30 minutes of cardio a day
and boom,
for a
abs.
month. And it's like, oh, visible abs are back. I did it. I'm good to go. Whereas we both have clients that it's like, oh, you're not going to have cheat meals for months and you're going to do
60 minutes of cardio.
60 minutes of cardio a day, and you're going to lift 5 to 6 days a week, and you're going to do all these things to get in shape, to have a visible, let's just say that's the goal, to have visible abs, right?
Yeah, beach body.
It's not, oh, boo-hoo me, I can't do this, or that's not fair because they get to do that. we're not making that point at all. The point is you have to understand your genetics and work and cater your goals towards your genetics.
Correct.
You could all achieve the exact same thing. It's how much do you have to do to achieve that goal?
Yeah.
The client who asked us this question, yeah, you ran circles around him in the gym. But guess what? You don't look the same way he does. But if you want to look the way that he does, guess what you got to do?
Work hard on your diet.
Yep. Have to. No one, neither of us were
You've
telling.
been doing 30 minutes of cardio 7 days a week for the last 5 years. Guess what?
Right.
Clean up your diet. Eventually, if you don't want to pull more food yet, guess what? You're so used to 30 minutes of cardio. Guarantee you, it's barely doing shit for your heart rate isn't elevated. That's just how you wake up.
That's
right?
a stimulus, right?
Now, increase your cardio, increase the intensity, like whatever it is.
And the argument can't be, well, I do 30. It's like,
Okay,
well, yeah, you do
better.
30. Now you need to do more.
Do better.
If you want to look better than them, that's what your body is giving you. You need to do more.
100%. I agree with you, man.
The funny story.
Yeah, do this one.
Was this client who is a little bit on the better side of genetically gifted, was given, I can't remember, was it? I think it was 150 grams of rice.
Yes.
In dry weight into their diet.
I think it was 100 grams because
yes, sorry,
she was eating 300 grams and usually dry cooks about 3 times.
So this goes to tell you the genetic potential this client had was that I had given her 100 grams of cooked rice, like the weight.
In multiple meals
a day. This client misunderstood and was counting the dry rice in that weight. So was eating close to 300 grams of cooked rice per meal. So triple what I had prescribed. And was still starting to make progress week by week before noticing that she was eating triple the amount of rice that she was supposed to, because that's how well her body responds to good, like the new
clean foods,
to clean foods, to the new stimulus it was being given. Does that mean she was eating 6,000 calories of junky food all day, every day? No, it just means when she cleaned up her diet and started eating good, clean sources, even though it was a crazy amount.
She was eating more calories than she probably should have been.
Yes, her body was like, good, clean food.
We can utilize this.
I'm going to run with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill this, right? And she made progress, eating triple the amount of food she was supposed to eat.
Yeah. Now, because you brought it up.
Sure.
There are people who do not have good genetics, and they might be eating Starbucks for breakfast with a caramel macchiato and a bacon Gouda sandwich and a Nutella croissant. Eat some,
What was Paul drinking the other day?
I don't fucking know. Something weird.
Hey, shout out
Vita.
Shout out Vita.
Vita Health Spa opening up in July, Bloomingdale, Illinois.
You guys can't see, but I got a Vita shirt on right now.
Yeah.
So shout out
Show
Paul.
me your back, dude. Can you? No, that's weird, dude. I don't know if you're going to be able to move the chair. It's going to get all fucked
I'm
up.
not going to do it. But shout out Paul. Shout out Vita. Opening soon. You guys remember Paul.
Check him out.
Paul was episode
I don't
15,
remember, dude. Yeah, many moons ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. We'll have him back.
Yeah. I told him probably before the grand opening. Try and get an episode like the week before or something.
Perfect.
So, talked about that today. I wasn't making plans. Thought, Jerry, buddy. Just letting you know.
I didn't take it that way.
I'm just saying, in case
you said
in case the people.
I'm a part of this business too.
Hey. So people don't get the wrong idea from what you said. There's people also who have not horrible, but not the best genetics, right? Maybe horrible, I don't know. And yes, they could be eating Starbucks for breakfast, work for a snack. They might be drinking a fucking Code Red Mountain, doing some hot Cheetos. Lunch, they might go to, Chick-fil-A or Wendy's or something. And then dinner, they might pick up Portillo's or throw in a frozen pizza, right? Then all of a sudden, you give them the same calories or more calories or less calories, whatever, of clean food, and they start losing weight, right? That doesn't mean that they have good genetics like this person did, right? That just means that, hey, they're now in a deficit and using food that their body is actually going to break down and be able to process and use as fuel, right? So eventually that progress is going to slow down. But he's talking about a person who wasn't eating that bad. They just weren't eating a diet that was catered towards them, but they were making what they thought were healthy choices. And so Pat technically increased her calories
And still make
and she was still progressing.
Right.
That's how you know that, hey, genetics are on this client's side.
Yes. This is the kind of person who's like, oh, I'm making healthy choices. I eat an acai bowl for breakfast, like not knowing.
Yeah, 200 grams of sugar, you know,
right,
blah,
not,
blah, blah.
Not realizing an acai bowl is a crazy amount of sugar and not as great as it's made out to be, right? Yeah. Is it an acai a superfruit or whatever they call it? Sure, of course it is. And in moderation, can it be put into a good diet? Sure,
Correct.
Of course it can be. But when it's an acai
bowl this big,
granola and a bunch of fruit and all these things, and you're just eating an excessive amount of carbs.
With some honey and some peanut butter and some,
excessive amount of carbs in one sitting and fats in one sitting, it's not good for you.
No.
And so when she was given measured amount, which again, she ate more, but a measured amount of food catered for her, bam.
Game over.
Progress is being made
instantly.
Even though she was eating too much of it, progress was still being made. You're going to see this everywhere.
You get that to somebody with poor genetics.
Not the same thing.
They probably would have had some sort of digestive issues, feel bloated, started gaining weight. At that point, it'd probably be fluid retention. But
yeah, I will argue that many people don't really realize how hard it is to gain weight on clean food.
Yeah.
So like, even though she was eating, even somebody with poor genetics, their weight gain wouldn't be astronomically rapid, right? If somebody is 50 pounds overweight, right? A girl is supposed to be 125 pounds and she's 175 and she wants to get back down to that weight, right? Even if she did eat the wrong amount of rice, if she went from a poor diet to a rice-based, a good meal plan, and yes, she was overeating on the rice a little bit, it's not like eating 3 times the amount of rice is going to make her gain 5 pounds of fat in a week. It's not going to happen.
If you gain 5 pounds of fat in a week doing anything, something's wrong here.
No, but if someone ate like a dickhead for a week, you could, right? It's not fat. It's
bad weight.
It's bad weight that will.
That's what I meant. If you put on 5 pounds of tissue, of any kind of tissue in a week.
That's a very good point.
Jeez Louise.
That's a lot. That's a very good point you just made too.
I make a lot of good points, dude.
You didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, I did.
Bad weight. People with good genetics, even when they go above and beyond, they might not see. Ooh, I was too far.
That's the exact point I was trying to make.
What?
Keep going. You're telling me what I'm saying.
The water weight gain, the excessive amount of extra, like it, again, to all of you that are like me that don't have this ability or this genetic
massive
gift,
penis.
Yeah, that don't have that. Yes, it does suck, guys, that we can't go have a cheat meal and just walk in the gym the next day and be like, yep, went to my biceps. I look amazing right now. People with poor genetics, kind of like myself, are the ones that, yep, ate a cheat meal. My midsection's bloated. I'm a little watery because I had an influx of calories that my body didn't really need.
Listen.
What's up?
Great point.
Yeah.
Way to use yourself as an example.
Sure.
But your genetics are not that bad, dude.
I'm not sorry. I do not have the worst genetics.
Yeah, I get you're saying that you're not a genetic anomaly, right?
What I'm saying is right. There are people who.
But you don't have a milkshake and your ass jiggles for a week.
You can agree with no, not by any means. And again, I know that people are going to look at me and be like, "Pat's always lean." I work to always be lean.
Yes,
because I know my genetics are that of. I don't know why I was just thinking about this the other day. After a show, right? I've never been the kind of person who wakes up the day after a show and is like, whoa, I look even better. Like I filled out. I look even better today than I looked yesterday. It doesn't happen. Once I give myself those bad foods, that influx of food, my body isn't as capable of breaking those things down as somebody with better genetics. Not saying I have bad genetics, but I know there are certain restrictions to what my genetics can and can't do. So I make sure I don't do those things. I play my cards, I play my, what do they say? Play my hand close to my, however they say that.
You play good cards.
I play cards well.
Yeah. Never played cards.
I've played cards before.
I'm just making a joke. We don't need to sidetrack.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
So you just have to learn, and again, this is part of our job and what we help you guys do. You have to learn what your genetic potential is and what your genetics are. You have clients every day that'll message you and be like, hey, dude, so I ended up having a cheat meal last night and I woke up 4 pounds heavier this morning. It's like, okay, well,
I don't have clients that every day, dude. Give my clients some fucking credit, dude.
Sorry.
Every week.
I more so meant just because you have a larger number of clients.
No, I get it.
It's a more regular occurrence of like, hey, dude, like it was Susie's birthday, so I went out.
sure.
I went out last night, and I know I wasn't supposed to have this. Wasn't a scheduled off-plan meal, and I'm like 4 pounds heavier this morning.
Yeah, and then we both may have a client who, hey, ate something I wasn't supposed to eat last night. And I woke up 2 pounds lighter.
Yeah, I actually lost some weight today.
Yeah, there's a difference.
There is,
But that doesn't mean, for those listening, if you're one of those who eats that and loses weight, one, that you should.
right, doesn't mean it's okay.
Think about your end goal. Just because you got away with it doesn't mean that you moved forward, right? A. B, you may only get away with it for so long. I know people that I went to school with, right, who people thought they had eating disorders, right?
Sure.
One guy and one girl off the top of my head in specific, like couldn't gain weight for the life of them, and they swore they ate, right? Nothing. Now seeing them on Instagram and Facebook and whatever, they have ballooned. Guess what caught up to them?
Age,
metabolism, hormones,
Yeah.
Just because you can get away with something doesn't mean that you should.
Correct. And just because you're the person who can't get away with something doesn't mean you shouldn't
Give up.
Right. Doesn't mean, oh, the sport's not for me. Luckily, with bodybuilding, especially at the amateur level, because let's be real, that's the majority of our clientele, as amateur bodybuilders. You can have bad genetics and still be a good amateur bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You can. We will be honest with you and tell you if you have bad genetics and we don't think you're going to be a pro.
For sure.
We'll tell you straight up, hey, that is unrealistic. Going and winning your class one day, realistic
Very
goal,
possible.
something you should work for. Winning
An Olympia?
or even going to nationals and winning your class. Because again, now that the whole COVID thing is over, it's
competitive.
It's one pro card per class.
Yeah.
There's not two anymore. You don't get to luckily squeak by and get a second place pro card. Not a thing. With the bad genetics, it doesn't mean we'll tell you no and you shouldn't try. It just means you need to be aware. And that's, again,
I mean, prime example. I feel like we reference him a lot. Well, at least a handful of times already, but Matt Porter, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Porter was an amazing regional level bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. Amazing. His whole thing was be a local hero, right? It helped his business. It helped him hold himself accountable. But he was a super skinny, lengthy kid growing up. Did not have the genetics to put on muscle quickly or whatever.
Right.
He did not have the appetite where he can eat a ton of calories without having some sort of digestive issue. Mm-hmm. But over time, through diet and exercise and supplementation, right, and enhancement,
Yep.
he altered his genetics to an extent, right? Mm-hmm. The more muscle we put on, right?
Yep.
The more fat we're going to burn at rest, metabolic rate increases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Yes.
So he built himself to be a very, 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 very competitive regional level guy. He can go into pretty much any show and probably win an overall. Mm-hmm. But he kept it there. I think he did USAs once or twice, right?
Yeah.
But he kept it there. He did that just to do it. Yeah. He didn't think that he'd turn pro and start winning Olympias, right? He knew where his strengths and weaknesses are. He knew naturally he can stay super lean. He could win with conditioning, but he knew,
right,
why am I going to go chase a pro card? Because I know I'm going to get on stage and I'm not going to be able to outwork these guys,
and just because that doesn't mean he wouldn't have enjoyed having a pro card.
No, exactly.
That doesn't mean he didn't love bodybuilding and didn't.
But what I'm saying is he was realistic with what he was dealt. Hey, I can still love bodybuilding. I can still create an income out of bodybuilding. I can still be a great bodybuilder.
Right.
But is trying to continue pushing, okay, and hurt my body more and more to get to that pro level when I probably won't be a competitive pro. Why would I do that? Granted, other complications happened and we lost him at a young age,
right,
but Obviously, he was dealing with other stuff internally, health-wise. So it's a good thing he didn't do that because maybe it could have took him early.
Right.
We talked to a friend recently, right?
Different friend?
Yeah. Were you there? No, I don't think you were there. Okay, but another buddy who's recently obtained a pro card, right? And
yes.
because
You told me this, but I wasn't there with you.
he knows genetically, okay, the things he would have to do
Right.
to be a competitive pro,
Right.
he's not willing to do because genetically he wasn't there. But he was genetically gifted enough to be able to work hard
Right.
and get that pro card still, which was a lifelong goal for him, and create something out of it.
Right.
But he knows his limitations.
He knew the level.
Yeah.
He knew what he needed to do to get to that level. Got it. And now is like, cool.
Yeah.
I achieved that thing. That was my push. That was my that's the one thing. His push was to get the pro card. Some people's push will be to win a class.
Yeah.
Some people's push will be to
And that's
place
my
top.
point.
Some people's push will be to place top 5 in a class at a regional show. Everyone is going to have a different a capacity of what their body is going to allow them to do.
Exactly. But you have to realize what that capacity is and be realistic with it. And use that as motivation. Hey, if you tell me that I can be I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know.
But this happens in other sports, and it gets missed.
I was trying to think of a different sport.
It gets missed in bodybuilding, right? It's like I gave up playing basketball because I was 4'11". Like, yeah, because I'm probably
Basketball was almost the reference that I threw myself, and I was like, oh, that's a long shot.
Probably a bad idea for me while getting into high school, and everyone's shooting up and getting to 6 feet tall, and Pat's still standing at 4'11". Guys, I loved playing basketball, but I gave it up because I was at quite the disadvantage. Didn't mean I couldn't have continued to try keep playing. Didn't mean I should have not pushed myself to be a better basketball player. Not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just came to that own conclusion of myself. The best I'll ever be is probably a decent high school player. It's better for me to invest my time and energy into something else because I know at 4'11", right, didn't know I was going to hit a growth spurt. Blessed, right?
Yeah, dude, you would have been hooping, dude.
Lucky I did hit a growth spurt to get to this height.
All in.
White chocolate. But like at that time, didn't know I was going to grow a little bit. So I was like, it's not worth my time and effort because I know, guys, and this isn't like small shaming. There's never been a 4'11" professional basketball player. So,
Muggsy was how tall?
5'6" or 5'5" or something like that.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Still way off of 4'11" though. You know what I mean? So and it's the same thing when it comes to bodybuilding, right? It's like people get told that when they're playing football, like, hey, dude, you can't. And yes, we know there are outliers. We know there are crazy stories. You watch a movie like Rudy and you get all jazzed up and you're like, I could do it.
Love getting jazzed up, dude.
Doesn't mean that the one person out of a million can. It just means everyone's going to have a genetic parameters put around them.
For sure.
And you should work to be the best with those parameters. You should work, and that's okay. You should work to be the best person you're capable of.
Your basketball story and quitting, at first, I thought you were taking a wrong turn there, but you saved yourself. I was like, dude, no, we're not telling people that if you don't have good genetics, not to bodybuild.
No, and that's what sorry.
We're saying be realistic and know, hey, if I have good genetics, keep working fucking harder because you're going to be great. Yeah. If you have decent genetics or not so good genetics or whatever, don't be like, oh man, like this guy's got great genetics, so I'm not going to work hard.
Greg and Pat said because I can't eat pizza every day and I don't get bloated, that I can't be a professional bodybuilder now.
No.
Not what we're saying.
That means push to be your fucking best, but accept the fact that you're going to have to do more, right? That's our whole point. Circling back to the original story of why this conversation got brought up with my client asking us that question is, that guy is getting away with not being as strong as you, not having to work as hard at the gym, and he looks better than you.
Yep.
So if you take your strength and you take your hard work and effort and you just did a little bit more and dieted better, imagine the progress that you would see because you're already 10 steps ahead in another avenue, right?
That's like sitting and saying like, oh, I went to school with this kid. His grandpa owns the railroads and he doesn't even have to work hard and he gets money. So I should just not work hard to make money because I'll never get money like
I'll never be born with $1 billion.
Right. I was
I'm
never
already past that.
Yeah. I'm never going to get born into a rich family again. Like, no, we're not saying stop. We're not saying give up. We're just saying you're going to run across this in the sport.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. You're going to one day, you're going to be a
learn to use your strengths and push past them. Learn to take your weaknesses and try and make them into some sort of a positive.
You're going to be a great bodybuilder one day, and you're going to get on stage and go to a show you're supposed to win because you've done everything right. And then some 21-year-old kid who just started working out this year is going to show up and he's going to blow you out of the water. Yeah. And you're going to be like, holy
shit.
Efferoni.
Yeah.
And that's the sport. That's it. Doesn't mean that other kid, that 21-year-old kid who just started working out and has great genetics, doesn't mean he's going to go pro either. He might quit because he doesn't know how to work hard. He might hit his cap in 6 months. So you can't quit because in a year from then, you could still beat that guy again. Yeah. But it just means you realize that this is okay. This is the card that I'm dealt. This is my playing field. And this is such an individual sport. You can only play on your playing field. You cannot play on anybody else's. You can't use anyone else's diet. You can't use anyone else's training. You can't use anyone else's drug protocol. You have to play your game.
Yeah. I think another easy way to put it in perspective, though, is we've talked a lot about diet. We've talked a lot about pro this, pro that, whatever. But in the sense of actual lifting, right? You referenced earlier to when you were a mover and, you had other guys that they didn't look like they could move shit, but they were the strongest guys, right? Sure. But think about, what you said yesterday, right? And I'll have you repeat it for the people, right? You were saying you weren't gifted in the sense that you were just naturally strong. You said, I'm not a strong person.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, hey, give yourself some fucking credit, man.
Thanks, man.
But you're strong to most people who weigh your weight and are your size.
Yes.
But how did you get there?
I'm stronger for my body weight, my size, my height, my age, all of these categories. I'm strong for that type of person because I practice certain lifts.
Yeah.
Right. I can kick a soccer ball really hard because I've been kicking a soccer ball for 30 years.
Perfected the movement.
I can hack squat pretty decently well for being somebody well under 200 pounds. Right. Well, that's because I hack squat every week. And I get better at it.
He got better. He worked and worked
because I want to be better at the hack squat, guys. Not because I think it's the ultimate exercise. Not whatever it is,
we're
right?
A perfect example, right?
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang, okay? Naturally, okay?
The Odd Couple. If you guys remember that movie, look it up.
Whether I'm super consistent with my plan or whatever, because we all know that I'm not the bodybuilder Greg was years ago, right? Obviously, goals, priorities, things have changed, right? But I'm back in routine. But regardless, when we used to work out together, when we first started lifting together, I was way stronger than you.
In every lift.
You're talking lower body, upper body, except for calf
races.
Which who knows? Maybe I was stronger. They just did not look like his.
Which is a genetic thing, guys.
Yes.
I was a fat kid who had fat kid calves. And then I lost a bunch of weight. And I luckily was able to keep those fat kid calves.
Yeah. He had to carry a lot of weight at 4'11". You know what I mean?
If I genetically wasn't this 4'11" bigger kid, there's a good chance I wouldn't have had those calves. And I don't have them now. Genetics.
God bless those calves, dude.
Thanks.
God bless being fat.
Only thing that kept me alive.
Good job.
Continue.
But my point is, okay, I was way stronger than you. Not to throw you under the bus, but at that time, I was older than you. I was lifting longer than you, whatever. Yeah. So technically speaking, I should have been stronger, right?
Absolutely.
But I was bigger, I was stronger, whatever. And now, other than lower body, we would say that I probably at least shoulders, arms, whatever, are bigger than you, right? Mm-hmm. But when we lift together now, because Pat continuously kept working at getting better because he wanted it and he kept perfecting every single movement in the gym and he was patient. Now when we go lift, Pat is either the same as me or way stronger than me. There's nothing now that I can go and do an exercise with you and say that I blow you away on.
No.
Nothing.
But there's certain
because
things.
I took advantage of my genetics.
Sure.
And I knew, oh, well, I tore my pec, whatever. Like, I'll get back in it and I'll start banging it out and I'll grow easily. And then I got in it and I started going through the motions and whatever. Like, I never went back to doing what you're doing, you know?
Right.
I was never continuously trying to get better week by week by week. So although if I did go do that, maybe a year or two down the road, I'd be back to where the old Greg was, right? But you've proven that you can start getting past those thresholds, right?
Yeah.
And you can get stronger and you can get bigger, you know? It's just having the patience and continuously working towards it.
I remember the days of any time I picked up anything that had 2 plates on it, I thought I was going to die. It didn't matter. It was bench press, squat, row, deadlift, didn't matter.
Yeah.
If it had 2 plates on it or more, I thought I was going to die because my body hadn't learned how to hold 225 pounds yet. It just hadn't. Hold 225 pounds in a barbell fashion, right? I used to also do the moving stuff, and I used to have to carry armoires upstairs and like
Yeah, we get it, dude. You were strong in different ways.
Different kind of movement, right? But this, again, it's the same exact thing. I might be stronger than you at gym lifts now because I've been more consistent at gym lifts right now. But if we went to move a piece of equipment, your brute strength would still be stronger than mine, and my endurance would be better than yours.
Sure.
If we had to pick up,
because genetically, that's what I was given,
Right.
was that brute strength.
if we had to pick up sandbags and like walk them somewhere, you'd be able to be like, boom, boom, throw them over your shoulder and go. And I would be like,
As long as we're only going like a driveway
well, that's what I mean. I would be like, and then I could walk twice as far.
For sure.
But that's
how I was built.
right. And that's how
That's how you were built.
That's how I was built. So
My dad, all
Yeah.
that guy ever did was make pizzas
Yeah.
and fucking construction. Never worked out in a gym besides physical therapy his whole life.
pretty good life.
Can still fuck me up in arm wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Can literally, I mean, now not because of his back, before his back surgeries,
Yeah.
literally, oh, you can't turn that? Boom. Just fucking
Dude, I
wrench
hate
something.
that my dad does
Yeah,
that.
right? Like
Hate
literally,
it.
oh, you can't lift that up? Boom, take a lawnmower and just fucking throw it into a car or some
Dad
shit, you know?
strength.
Like that brute force, but all he did was physical shit his whole life,
You know what's
right?
another thing?
But
Totally off.
in a gym,
Wouldn't do anything.
you throw 135 on a bench press.
Yeah.
And he probably couldn't get it off his
crumble.
fucking chest.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he's not used to it.
It's genetics.
Yeah.
It's practice. You ever seen, or maybe not, I shouldn't say you ever seen.
Saving Silverman?
This is a, wow, that's a really old one.
You like that?
I remember this. I don't know why I remember this so much, but it's more of a kind of practice movement, but also a strength thing. Seeing my dad split a log in half. One, I had never learned.
Big lumberjack.
One, I'd never learned how to swing an axe until that day where I was now cutting wood with him. But there's strength that goes behind that. Besides the the
Strength,
practice of the
skill,
movement,
yeah.
right? He had the skill part of it. But when I learned the skill, I
You're like,
learned
"Damn,
how
my
to.
dad's strong."
I learned how to move your hands on the axe to get and I still
How
wouldn't
you
go.
do it, dude?
You have to move your hands while you swing. You know that?
I want you to show me.
Still wouldn't go straight through the log, right? Or wouldn't get a clean cut, like because I didn't have that strength. It's a dad strength thing, dude.
That's a dad's
Gotta
strength.
have kids. But
I got him now. Maybe I'll start getting stronger.
you do have that brute strength, like you said.
Yeah, but I'm saying now it's going to get better, dude.
It's going to only get better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next couple of years, your strength is
I'm only picking everything up, dude.
skyrocket.
Remember that 8-station jungle gym we can't move?
Now you can.
Wait till next year, dude.
Now you can. No problem. Push it. All right. I don't want to beat a dead horse about this. I think we got the point across. Don't give up on bodybuilding. Don't allow genetics to be an excuse, but be understanding of what they are, what that means, and learn and adapt to what you are given.
Yeah. I mean, and you might be someone, not to carry this on longer, but you might be someone who genetically, maybe you are gifted in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But you look at the guy next to him like, damn, dude, like he's got better rear delts than me, but you might have better calves. This.
Yeah.
Okay, so guess what? Start prioritizing. Work harder on that area. You know, like
Yeah.
me personally, I could build shoulders and arms in 2 fucking seconds.
Yeah.
Right? My legs, I don't work them out for a week. They fucking deflate, right? But no one in my family has big legs. Even the fat guys don't have big legs, you know? You just have to know your strengths, know your weaknesses, be accepting of them, and learn how to work harder.
Biggest caveat of the entire episode that we just did today. You will not learn your genetics until you've been doing this long enough to learn your genetics.
Yeah.
Do not take away from this episode and be like, well, I just started lifting 6 months ago and I think I have bad genetics, or I think I have good.
You have no
You
clue.
have no idea. Newbie gains are going to do its thing for like 6 months to a year. And then after that, you'll start to kind of learn. It's going to take 2 to 3 years of being in a gym to find out what your strengths are, find out what your weaknesses are, find
2
out
to 3 years of being in a gym the correct way.
consistently being in the gym, doing things the right way. Then you can start to assess. But again, another big caveat to this whole thing.
Yeah, dude, throw 'em on
you
me, dude.
shouldn't be getting on a stage if you're in the first year or two of lifting.
I agree.
You need to take the time.
Even if you are one of those genetic freaks.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You probably still don't have proper mind-muscle connections. So you're probably not going to be able to activate those muscles properly in your posing and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
This is not a fucking race.
No.
Take your time,
Learn.
work fucking hard, and learn what works for you.
Absolutely. It's like I'm low.
Because what the guy doing next to you is doing is not going to be,
Don't mean nothing.
yep, it's not going to work for you the same way. And even if it works for you, it's not going to work for you the most optimal way. You have to figure out what works for you, take it, fucking run with it.
Deal. On
People
that note,
FaceTime me, it's weird.
and that note, I think that's it for today, dude.
That's it.
Until the next time,
Hasta luego,
we'll do
dude.
the hokey pokey, and we will turn ourselves around. Is that what they say?
I'm not turning myself around near you.
Turn yourself about.
No, it's turn yourself around. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
You're not going to find out what it's all about.
That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time.